Good afternoon. I am Vidyasagar and I teach English and CSS for you. Right. So yesterday I met you yesterday, and in yesterday's class I told you about the question paper, the pattern of the question paper, and I was discussing with you the contents of the question paper. So today I would like to just give you a brief introduction to CSS, and then after that I will go into the lesson that we are doing. I stopped yesterday, I will go into that lesson, but now before that I would just like to give you a brief overview of the CSS, communication and soft skills. That is the paper you will be doing, and this is the textbook, communication and soft skills textbook. So once you come to college, you will get the syllabus and you will get the textbook, so don't worry about that, right? So this the syllabus is divided into 5 units, CSS, okay, into 5 units. So this is one paper which I will be dealing with, okay, and this paper is for 50 marks. And it's a 2-hour paper, 2 hours, right? So this is the okay. So this is communication and soft skills, okay, for 50 marks and 2 hours, and I have divided the syllabus into 5 units, and I'll give you unit 1. Vocabulary building. Vocabulary building. So in this you will be having prefixes, suffixes, conversion, compounding and analogy, right? And then you have one word substitutes, words often confused, synonyms, antonyms and phrasal verbs. That is the content of unit 1, vocabulary building. And unit 2, you have grammar 1. You have grammar 1, okay. In that grammar 1, types of verbs and subject verb agreement. So I am giving the syllabus of this, actually this first contents, okay. This is the contents, and I am giving it, I have divided it into units, right. I have broken them into units, and I am giving that. I am giving you the units from this textbook. This is what I have done, right? So I am giving on the board. So unit 1, grammar, you have types of verbs, subject verb agreement. Okay, that is unit 1. Right, we shall go to unit number 3. Unit 3 is grammar 2. Grammar 2. Okay, grammar 2. Grammar 2. Under grammar 2, meanings of modals, tenses, present and past, several possibilities of future time, articles and preposition. Right? So that's unit number 3. Unit number 4. Unit number 4, you have listening skills. Okay, your listening skills. Unit number 4, listening skills. And under this, importance of listening, types of listening, barriers, obstacles to effective listening, strategies for effective listening. I repeat again, all of you are listening, okay? I hope you are listening. I shall repeat it again. Listening skills, that is unit number 4. The importance of listening, types of listening, barriers, obstacles to effective listening, strategies for effective listening. Okay? So, unit number 4, listening skills. And finally, you have unit number 5, reading skills. Unit 5, reading skills. Reading skills. Under reading skills, you have skimming, scanning, intensive reading, extensive reading and comprehension. Okay, I shall repeat again. Under this, are you able to see this? Reading skills, skimming, scanning, intensive reading and extensive reading, comprehension. So these are the 5 units, no? Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4 and 5. Unit 1, vocabulary building. Unit 2, grammar 1. Unit 3, grammar 2. Unit 4, listening skills. And Unit 5, reading skills. I hope you got it. Have you noted it down in your notebooks or did you write it down? I hope all of you have written down this. Just keep it in a notebook. So, Unit 1, vocabulary building. Unit 2, grammar 1. Unit 3, grammar 2. Unit 4, listening skills. And Unit 5, reading skills. Okay, so the paper for this I told you, it's 50 marks and it's a 2-hour paper and the questions are given like 10 into half. 10 into half. Unit 1, you will have 10 into half. Then you have 5 marks, right? Unit 3, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5. So the questions are given according to the unit wise. I hope you understood. The questions are given unit wise. Unit 1, vocabulary building. You have questions connected to vocabulary building, right? And Unit 2, right, you have again the grammar 1. Grammar 1. Questions connected to grammar 1, Unit 2. Unit 3, you have grammar 2. Fill in the blanks with suitable preposition. And Unit 4 is essay questions. No? Unit 4 is listening skills. Unit 4 is listening skills. So you have essay questions, 2 into 5, 10. They give you 3 questions, and out of 3 questions you have to write any 2. 2 into 5, 10. Unit 5 is also essay question. Unit 5 is essay question. Write any 2. 2 into 5, 10. 2 into 5, 10. Okay? Two into 5, 10. Two into 5, 10. Okay? So, they give you 3 questions. They give you 3 questions. Any 2 for this one and for this one, right? So 2 into 5, 10, 2 into 5, 10 for Unit 4 and Unit 5, right? So I think you have noted it down in your books. All of you have followed what I have said. Any doubts or any clarifications, we can discuss it again once you come back to the college, and we can go through that. Okay, so let's come back to the lesson, the first lesson from the prose. I am now switching back to prose. I am going back to prose. We are dealing with prose. So the first lesson, I shall continue with the first lesson, and I hope all of you are listening attentively to this lesson while I am narrating the lesson. Okay, please try to follow what I am teaching, and you can understand. Right, so let's go back to our right. So the Knowledge Society by APJ Abdul Kalam. I was discussing that lesson yesterday, and I stopped at the second, at the end of second paragraph. At the end of second paragraph. So I was telling you yesterday, knowledge is available everywhere in our environment. It's available in our oceans, in our bioreserves, in our deserts, in the plant and animal life. Okay, so Abdul Kalam says we can find knowledge around us. Knowledge is everywhere. You can find knowledge in the environment, right? You can find knowledge in the oceans. You can find knowledge in plants. You can get knowledge from the animal life. Okay, so every state in our country has a unique core competence. So he's talking about the uniqueness of our country. The uniqueness of our country is that every state has its own uniqueness. Every state in our country has its own language, cultural habits, traditions, language, right? It's a unique aspect of our country, and that is what Abdul Kalam says. Every state is a storehouse of knowledge. That's what Abdul Kalam tells in this lesson. Okay, I am moving on to the next paragraph, third paragraph. Please try to listen carefully and try to understand. Right, and I was also talking about the Gurukula system where the Guru and Sishya used to reside together, stay together, and the Sishya would learn not only education but also other life skills like archery or horse riding, and not only that, they would be disciplined in their life. So Abdul Kalam says that our country has been a country of sharing. Okay. Additionally, in India, there has been a culture of sharing. So we have been a country where we have shared our knowledge with other people. Right. So he says that our country is a very unique country. And I was discussing with you yesterday how the world has changed from being an agricultural society to an industrial society. Right? Knowledge has made us, okay, in other words, knowledge has made any country in the world to change from an agricultural society to an industrial society. Right? That is what Abdul Kalam says. And this happens due to knowledge, because of knowledge. Right? Knowledge. So a society which has knowledge, okay, a society of people who have knowledge, who acquire knowledge, or who seek knowledge, they will be transformed from an agricultural society to an industrial society. Right? So, in the 21st century, a new society is emerging where knowledge is a primary production resource instead of capital and labor. So Abdul Kalam says that nowadays a new society is emerging, a society where the primary resource is knowledge or production rather than capital and labor. Right? More than capital and labor, production, productive resources, that is very important. Efficient utilization of this existing knowledge base can create wealth for us in the form of better health, education, and other indicators of progress. So Abdul Kalam says we should utilize the existing knowledge efficiently. Make use of your knowledge. Proper use of your knowledge. And when you make proper use of your knowledge, right, it will be used for constructive purposes like better health, education, and other indicators of progress. So, the resources, knowledge is one resource. Abdul Kalam says knowledge is one form of resource, and he advises us to use it efficiently, properly. Right. The ability to create and maintain the knowledge infrastructure to enhance skills and increase productivity through the exploitation of advances in various fields will be the key factor in deciding the prosperity of this society. So not only utilization of knowledge, Abdul Kalam talks about maintaining the knowledge infrastructure. It's not enough we build up or we have a knowledge foundation. Whether a nation qualifies as a knowledge society is judged by how effectively it deals with knowledge creation and knowledge deployment. The knowledge society has two very important components driven by societal transformation and wealth generation. So, knowledge society, according to Abdul Kalam, has two important components. What are they? Societal transformation and wealth generation. So a society which has knowledge, right, will automatically be transformed into a new society. There should be some change. Knowledge should make you a different person, right? Knowledge should make you a changed personality. You have to become a changed person. It will make you, right? And knowledge also creates wealth generation, right? Income, generation of income for our sustainability, for our living, for our survival. The societal transformation is in respect of education, healthcare, agriculture, and governance. So when we are talking about societal transformation, Abdul Kalam says our education, our healthcare, our agriculture, and governance should change. There should be a change in these aspects. What are they? Education, healthcare, agriculture, and governance. These are the main attributes of societal transformation. These will lead to employment generation, high productivity, and rural prosperity. So, once there is societal transformation, it will lead to employment generation, high productivity, and rural prosperity. So you can see what are the advantages of gaining knowledge. We need to see here what are the benefits of acquiring knowledge. You acquire knowledge and you get these benefits, or you have these benefits. And all these things are useful, necessary for our survival. Right. The task of wealth generation for the nation has to be woven around national competencies. The TIFAC, what is this? The task team has identified core areas that will spearhead our march towards becoming a knowledge society. The areas are information technology, biotechnology, space technology, weather forecasting, disaster management, telemedicine, teleeducation, technologies utilizing traditional knowledge, service sector, and infotainment, which is the emerging area resulting from convergence of information and entertainment. Right? So Abdul Kalam says our country should identify the core areas where we can march towards becoming a knowledgeable society. If India wants to be called as a knowledgeable society, Abdul Kalam says that we should improve in these areas. What are the areas? Information technology. We need to spearhead our growth in the area of information technology, biotechnology, space technology, weather forecasting, disaster management, telemedicine, teleeducation, infotainment. So these are the areas Abdul Kalam says that we should try to improve or try to spearhead our progress. And this can happen when our society becomes a knowledge society. When our society is transformed into knowledge society. So once we are transformed into a knowledge society, automatically we will be marching towards these new areas and new technologies which are being implemented all over the world. Right? So Abdul Kalam wants to make India, or he wants to take India to a good position in among the other countries of the world. And Abdul Kalam had an ambition to see India in a very good state of affairs in all aspects, economical, or scientifical or technological, right? These core technologies fortunately can be interwoven by IT, a sector that took off only due to the enterprising spirit of the young. So all these areas what I was discussing, these areas they can be taken forward by interweaving with IT sector, information technology sector, right? You need to interweave them into IT sector and then it will start off. Thus, there are multiple technologies and appropriate management structures that have to work together to generate a knowledge society. With India carving a niche for itself in information technology, the country is uniquely placed to fully capitalize on the opportunity to quickly transform itself into a knowledge society. So he says India is advancing. India has made long strides in the area of information technology. We are a country where we can proudly say that we are among the information technology superpowers, and it's because of the knowledge that our young minds have gained in the colleges and universities. So he says that India should be able to quickly transform itself into a knowledge society. The methodology of wealth generation in these core areas and to be able to meet an export target $50 billion by the end of the year 2008, especially the IT sector, is a subject that is currently under discussion. Also being discussed is how best to simultaneously develop the capability to generate information technology products worth 30 billion domestically to pump in societal transformation. Right? So, Abdul Kalam says we need to invest in information technology. Right? Not only invest in information technology, he is telling us to also invest in information technology products. Right? Invest in information technology products. So, once we do this investment in information technology, automatically the other things will follow, right? So Abdul Kalam is telling us to, or he's putting stress on the need to develop our information technology area. I am glad that the Planning Commission has taken a lead in generating a roadmap for transforming India into a knowledge society. So he is very glad that our politicians have taken a roadmap for transforming India into a knowledge society. Right? And he is appreciating, Abdul Kalam is appreciating our politicians for including information technology in the Planning Commission. Right? Abdul Kalam is appreciating our politicians, the governing body, for including information technology in our Planning Commission, right? I had the opportunity to be the chairman of the steering committee set up for this task. Abdul Kalam was the member of the steering committee set up for this task. Evolving suitable policy and administrative procedures, changes in regulatory methods, right? So Abdul Kalam says we need to have suitable policies and administrative procedures which is suitable for information technology or for the advancement of information technology. In order to creation of young and dynamic leaders are the components that have to be put in place. One more aspect Abdul Kalam concentrates on young people, young minds. Right? Abdul Kalam was very particular about this. He always wanted young people in our country, young boys and girls, young graduates, university scholars to put in their efforts, to give their efforts for the development of the country. And Abdul Kalam especially had a very soft corner for young minds, brilliant minds. And he says, our country, okay, it should be a creation of young and dynamic leaders. In order to generate wealth, which is the second component for establishing a knowledge society, it is essential that simultaneously a citizen-centric approach to shaping of business policy, user-driven technology generation, and intensified industry lab academia linkages have also to be established. So he says we should use technology which is suitable for our people. We need to intensify the industry lab academia linkage. We need to have a proper coordination. Abdul Kalam says there should be proper coordination between industry, the lab and academia. A tie-up, I would like to say a tie-up between industry, the lab, the academia. I mean academia is the universities and the colleges. So the universities and colleges should have a tie-up with industry and laboratories so that exchange of ideas, interchange of personnel, exchanging views and opinions can take place. Right? So Abdul Kalam is trying to propagate the idea of academia, industry and laboratories coming together on one platform. Okay? Coming together on one platform and working for the development of knowledge. I mean to generate knowledge in our country. Becoming a knowledge superpower is a very important mission for the nation. So Abdul Kalam had a vision, right? Abdul Kalam had a vision. His vision was that our nation should be a superpower. What? Okay? Hope you understand. He wanted our country to be a superpower. And he wanted our country to make it a mission. A primary mission. The primary mission to make our country a knowledge superpower. While a knowledge society has two-dimensional objective of societal transformation and wealth generation, a third dimension emerges if India is to transform itself into a knowledge superpower. This is knowledge protection. So he says, if we want to become a knowledge superpower, we should have knowledge protection. Protect our knowledge. Copyrights, copyright, patent our knowledge. Patent our historical texts and material so that other countries may not copy from us. So we need to safeguard our knowledge. Abdul Kalam says we need to safeguard our knowledge. We need to protect our knowledge. Knowledge is also a great heritage. It is very important that our communication network and information generators are protected from electronic attacks through surveillance and monitoring. So he says we need to safeguard our electronic, our information network, communication networks, right? We need to safeguard our communication network from prying eyes of other people. So other countries may not have access to our information, knowledge. We need to safeguard our information. And if we need to safeguard our information, Abdul Kalam says there should be constant monitoring. There should be constant monitoring. Monitoring should be done so that our knowledge will not be stolen by people of other countries. There should be a focused approach to intellectual property rights and related issues. And our ancient knowledge and culture too are part of our resource base and need to be protected as such. Right? So property rights, intellectual property rights, our ancient knowledge and culture, they are part of our resources, and we need to safeguard our resources. We need to protect our resources. Right. So this is the end of the lesson. I have finished the lesson. Right. And once you come to class or once you come to college, we can have a discussion. Any doubts or any clarifications you would like to know, or you would want me to explain again, I can do it once we come back to college. Right. So at the end of every lesson, we have the short answers and essay answers. So we can work out the questions. Okay, we can work out the questions and we can prepare the answers. So you'll be ready for the examination. So okay, I have finished the first lesson. Right? I have finished the first lesson, The Knowledge Society by APJ Abdul Kalam. Okay, let's have a quick summary. What were we discussing in this lesson? Right? Who is the author of this lesson? APJ Abdul Kalam. And he's talking about knowledge. He is talking about how a country should safeguard knowledge. And we were discussing that knowledge is available in many places, not only schools and classroom, but knowledge is also available in the library, in the industry, okay, and even around us in the environment. Knowledge is also available with us around the environment. Everywhere. You can see knowledge in plants. You can get knowledge from the animal kingdom, right? And he's talking about young people. Abdul Kalam was talking about young people. Young people should contribute to the development of the nation. Knowledge development. Okay? We are talking about knowledge development. Right. So that is the lesson, The Knowledge Society by APJ Abdul Kalam. Okay. So I'll start with the poem. Next we have one poem. I'll give you a brief introduction, and tomorrow we can go into that poem. Right. Okay. So So we have a poem, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Okay, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. I hope all of you can see this. All of you can see this poem, right? I'll give a brief introduction, and okay. So this poem. So tomorrow we can continue with the lesson, right? Okay, thank you.